welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Richey. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda on this special day, 3rd year anniversary for Indisputable. Because of every single one of you, we got some special dynamics happening. Joining us today, none other than the mayor of Enfield, North Carolina, and also the founder of the Black Male Voter Project and Rebel HQ contributor all-star. We have our dear brother, Mayor Mondale Robinson, on the program today, breaking down news as he does. Fascinating analysis, as always. Top story of the day, they would have called him Step and Fetch at a point in time. He is a congressman today. This congressman said that, Jim Crow actually had some, good points in it. I'm taking a page from the Governor Ron DeSantis playbook. So here it is.
I grew up with my mom. My dad and my mom, things didn't work out. As an adult, I look at my father and I say, bro, I don't know what happened, but you my father and I love you.
Wow.
I don't know what happened. I wasn't there.
Wow.
But I'm gonna tell you this, growing up, the one thing I knew I wanted to do, and this is not about my father, this is about what I wanted to do, is I wanted to be a father to myself.
Wow.
And so one of the things that's actually happening in our culture, which you're now starting to see in our politics, is the reinvigoration of black families with younger black men and black women. And that is also helping to breed the revival of a black middle class in America. You see, during Jim Crow, the black family was together.
That's right.
During Jim Crow, more black people were not just conservative, because black people are always a bit conservative minded, but more black people voted conservatively. And then HEW, Lyndon Johnson, and then you go down that road, and now we are where we are. What's happened in America the last 10 years, and I say it because it's my contemporaries, it's Wesley's contemporaries, you're starting to see more black people be married in homes, raising kids. It's when you home with your wife raising your kids, and then you look at the world, you're saying, now wait a minute, time out. This does not look right. How can I get something to my kids? It goes back to the conversation of generational wealth. Not just having a job, generational wealth. I'm looking at my kids. How can my kids be on my shoulders when they take off in life? That's what's happening.
Man, this brother's ignorant. So I have more video, but let me go ahead and point out one irony here. He said during Jim Crow, black people voted conservatively. Sir, during Jim Crow, black people could not vote. Also, one of the dynamics typically associated with conservative thinking is that when black people did have the right to vote, they voted for conservatives. No, they voted for individuals who were Republicans. But however, the Democratic Party also was racist. And yes, Republicans were racist. And then when black people got more voting power and demanded more progressive policies, those Democrats who were conservative, they decided to become the today Republican. They switched parties because of black people in the party. Thus, you have a party now that has a representative body of government of 98%, 97.6% white overall in the country. All right, so Joy Reid took him to task. Here it is.
Frankly, what's really happened is that you have, Democrats and you have the Biden campaign, and some in the media want to twist my words for political purposes. The overarching issue is talking just about black families and why you're seeing a trend of black people leaning towards Republicans in this election cycle and probably in election cycles to come. And part of that, is that when you're raising families, raising kids, et cetera, you're now thinking about all of the public policy issues, all of the economic issues, all of the education issues. And that's leading people to have divergence in political thoughts. That was the only point. The stuff that comes up about Jim Crow and twisting my words, saying I was being nostalgic or saying that Jim Crow was good for black people, that's all political spin. It's a lie. It's gaslighting. And that's truly unfortunate.
Congressman, you're truly unfortunate. The reality is nobody brought up Jim Crow but you. You see, some of the other points you made are relevant points. I think they're decent. But when you contextualize those points in the era of Jim Crow, that's when it becomes, well, like a Donald Trump talking point. It is amazing to me that Black Republicans, Black conservatives in particular, will try to, I don't know, outshine white racism by saying things that even white racists would never say on record. I want you to imagine if, let's say, Joe Biden would have said such a comment. If Joe Biden would have said that, during Jim Crow, wasn't that bad. I mean, at least Black families were married. Contextualization, Black families, well, yeah, they had technical marriage certificates. Typically, the divorce dynamic or divorce rates weren't as high as they are today for any classification of race, including Black people. But remember, a lot of Black folk did not have access to courts for remedy, especially Black women. As a matter of fact, women in general for many years could not even sign contracts, including divorce decrees, without a man agreeing with them. This is just social context for you to understand the statistics. And during a time in our country's history when divorce was only at a rate of 4%, was during the time when Black people had absolutely no rights in the United States of America whatsoever. So do you mean to tell me that you can equivocate the marriage rate or divorce rate to morality and ethics in the United States of America? Because the numbers don't add up, dear brother. There's more. Here it is.
Why did you use Jim Crow specifically as your reference? You did that. No one else did that. You did it.
Oh, I did. We were having a conversation, just talking as Black people in Philadelphia. But if you're going to use the chronological timeline of America before the Great Society and Lyndon Johnson's time period, you had, unfortunately, the Jim Crow era in America. During that time period, the marriage rates of Black Americans was significantly higher than any other time since then in American history. So it is a divergence if you're talking about marriage rates in the Black community. They have plummeted. And what we've seen recently in America, which is a very good thing we should all celebrate, is that the marriage rates in the Black community are rising again. That's good for Black families. That's definitely good for Black children. It's something I want to see. I'm quite sure you want to see it as well.
Okay, let's talk about that. Jim Crow lasted roughly from 1867 after the Civil War to 1968. Is there a specific period between 1867 and 1968 that you thought was this golden era for Black families, or a time that was good for Black families?
Joy, I never said that. And see, this is where the gaslighting comes in.
I'm going to read what you said.
All I was talking about was the marriage rates.
Stop. No,
Joy,
that's not what you said. Let's play what you said. Play what he said. Play what he said.
Families. You're saying I said it was the golden era. I never said that.
I got this, Joy. We all know what the man said, okay? Sentiment was that the era has some positive points, just like his mentor, Governor Ron DeSantis, and his crony saying that, slavery created positive outcomes for Black people because they learned trades. He is of the same mindset. Now let's do this. Pew Research actually released a study not too long ago that showed Black fathers actually spend more time with their children than any other demographic in the United States of America. They actually lead in quality time. You can look it up, you can find it. Unfortunately, not too many headlines ran with it outside of some Black media headlines. Also, in a survey, put it up, conducted by Ramsey Solutions, researchers found that arguments over finances are the second leading cause of divorce, the first being infidelity, kind of like Donald Trump. Also, within this idea of fighting about money, the main reason couples fight about money is because of debt. In this same study, researchers also found that the amount of debt a couple is in can play a huge role. The bigger the debt, the more of an issue it is in the marriage. Quote, almost half of couples with $50,000 or more in consumer debt say money is a top reason for their arguments. Those who say they have a great marriage are almost twice as likely to talk about money daily or weekly compared to those who say their marriage is okay or perhaps in crisis. But doesn't every couple experience debt on some level? Well, 2/3 of marriages do start out in debt, but those who have debt greater than $50,000 generally have more anxiety when it comes to discussing their finances. Also, nearly all of people who say they have a great marriage discuss not just their financial insecurities, but also their dreams when it comes to money. We're talking about a future goal setting dynamic. Clearly, study after study shows routinely, outside of infidelity, lying, etc., finances, economic realities, that becomes your number one contributing factor, your catalyst to a massive divorce rate in the United States of America, especially for those who do not have the access to economic mobility as some other folk may. So if you truly care about the divorce rate in the Black family or any other family, you would truly care about the economic reality based on policy elements that could provide a remedy to such a decline. That comes by way of actual economic, financial, exacting policy. Under Democratic presidents, Democratic progressive left-leaning policy, obviously, Black people tend to make more money, $826 per year on average, and that number can increase. Under Republican policy and Republican presidents over the last 25 years, the data shows that Black people make, well, less money. They actually have less dollars to spend. Home ownership for Black families goes down under Republican leadership, but it actually rises by roughly 20% under Democratic leadership. This has to do with progressive programs that are intentional about making sure you can become a first-time home buyer, which, by the way, creates an equity dynamic inside of that family that can be passed on generation to generation. It typically is the number one investment anybody will make, the biggest one they will make in their lives. This goes on and on. So you want to treat the effect, but you don't give a damn about the cause. And the absolute factor in how a person, let's just say, turns out, we're talking about a child. It is not, according to the data, based on having a two-family household or two-parent household. It is connected to having a loving household. Put them up full mast. GOP Florida Representative Bryon Donalds, just south of Georgia, a potential running mate for Donald Trump. I mean, he's trying hard right now. It's going to be real tough to outshine Senator Scott here, but he's attempting to. Defending his comments, suggesting Black families were, quote, together. During the Jim Crow era, his remarks made Tuesday at a Philadelphia meeting with GOP Texas Rep. Wesley Hunt. This has drawn criticism, obviously. The comments come as Trump's campaign seeks to attract non-white voters. Quote, he said, you see, during Jim Crow, the Black family was together, Donald said, per the Philadelphia Inquirer. You know, put his picture back up. You know, sir, there were some slave masters, sir, that said, you know, I'm a good guy. I'm going to let the family stay together. I'm going to buy all of them. Sir, were they good people for allowing the Black family to remain together even though they were purchased, bought, enslaved on the plantation? Because according to your logic, as long as the Black family was married, it doesn't matter what oppression they were receiving at that time because they were all together. Would you salute the era of white slave owners who decided to purchase the family intact? Sounds just as silly as your original statement. During Jim Crow, more Black people were not just conservative, because Black people have always been conservative-minded, but more Black people voted conservatively. Really, they couldn't vote during Jim Crow. That was the whole fight, sir. That ended, he suggested, due to a culture of dependence promoted by the federal government's welfare systems in the 1950s, including establishment of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. The federal agency known as the Department of Health and Human Services today, and civil rights efforts that followed under President Lyndon B. Johnson in the 1960s, and then Lyndon Johnson. You go down that road, and now we are where we are. Donald said, "That's right, sir. You're in the United States Congress. You are absolutely correct. And if we kept conservative policies, you could not have been elected in. As a matter of fact, it was progressives, Democrats, left-leaning folk, left-leaning bench, Supreme Court, that said, states do not have the right to tell you what race you can marry. So the fiance that Tim Scott allegedly has, that would be illegal under Jim Crow policy, sir. There's more. Let's put it up. So in a Wednesday interview with CNN's Abby Phillip, Representative Bryon Donalds acknowledged Black Americans are better off today than during Jim Crow era. See, that should have been the point, dear brother. That's why the world is fighting you on this. He also doubled down on his argument that Black marriage rates were higher before social welfare programs enacted during the Johnson administration. Keep his picture up. You don't marry for the sake of marriage. You marry for the sake of other dynamics associated, benefit-wise from the marriage. So are you benefiting economically, educationally? What are you benefiting from? If you're married just to say you are married, but there's no other measurable benefit, qualitative or quantitative analysis and benefit from that marriage, what is the marriage for? If not for some type of generational, economic, educational, or lifestyle gain. So why do we keep quoting this? Oh, that's because traditional marriage is a thing, according to many. I don't understand this. Where did they get this from? Traditional marriage goes back to ancient civilization. Traditional marriage means you can marry more than one woman. That's more traditional than the version we have in America. However, women could not marry more than one man. And in America, it's defined as one man, one woman. What about arranged marriages? That's actually more traditional than the formation of marriage you have in America. My point is, marriage is an expression of a social construct, dear brother. That's what it is. Has always been there. So what you call traditional marriage is not traditional at all. There's more. All I was doing is referring to the time periods when you talk about the historical timelines in America and coinciding with Black families and what marriage rate in the Black families are, Donald said, quote, nobody ever made nostalgia. That was never the point. It wasn't even about that, he added. I didn't say that. I didn't even insinuate that. Donald's comments drew harsh rebukes Wednesday from President Joe Biden's campaign, which said on X, Trump VP contender Bryon Donalds claims life was better for Black Americans during Jim Crow, as well as from other Democrats. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries took to the House floor at the conclusion of votes to call out Donalds, quote, that's an outlandish, outrageous, and out-of-pocket observation, the New York Democrat said Wednesday. Now, the quote, we were not better off when a young boy named Emmett Till could be brutally murdered without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when Black women could be sexually assaulted without consequence because of Jim Crow. He added, how dare you make such an ignorant observation? You better check yourself before you wreck yourself. Representative Stephen Horsford, the Nevada Democrat who chairs the Congressional Black Caucus, said in the statement that Donald's comments reflects, quote, a pattern of embracing racist ideologies that we see time and time again within the MAGA Republican Party. Representative Donalds is playing his role as the mouthpiece who will say the quiet parts out loud that many will not say to themselves. Donalds also responded in a video posted on X Wednesday saying that Biden's campaign and Jeffrey should, quote, check your sources and stop lying to the American people. Donald said, they're trying to say that I said Black people were doing better under Jim Crow. I never said that. They are lying. What I said is that you had more Black families under Jim Crow, and it was the Democratic policies under HEW, under the welfare state, that did help to destroy the Black family. That's what I said, he said. I also said that you're seeing a reinvigoration of Black families today in America. And that is a good thing. Well, according to the data, sir, the lack of economic opportunity and mobility is what destroys marriages. And another challenge to you, read the Pew Research that shows consistent time spent with children. Who leads in that category? There's more. CNN reported Wednesday that Donalds, among others, has been sent various levels of paperwork in the vetting process to be Trump's running mate, according to two sources familiar with the process. The controversy over the congressman's remarks comes as polls show Trump making gains with Black and Hispanic voters compared to his performance in the 2020 election. Though Philadelphia, where Donald's comments occurred, that's overwhelmingly Democratic. Pennsylvania is poised to once again serve as one of the most important swing states in November's election. So let me give you the political game here. So the Trump campaign, they will tell roughly 50 people that you're on the short list, okay? Maybe 5 of them actually are, but the rest of them are not. But what all 50 will do is start their own mini campaign for Donald Trump without being paid by the campaign or even coordinated with the campaign to do so. So they will hop on television and say the most extreme things in defense of Donald Trump and also the most extreme things against the political opponent or opponents involved in the election. That is the back and forth and the political reality that's happening now. So the Biden campaign seized on Donald's Philadelphia remarks to attack Trump in his attempts to reach Black voters. Quote, from touting his mugshot to hawking fake sneakers, Trump and his campaign have shown Black Americans how little they think of us. Black voters are about to show Trump how little they think of him, his allies, and his racist agenda this November. Campaign spokesperson said that in a statement. I mean, Senator Tim Scott is somewhere saying, damn, why didn't I think of that? This is insane. All right, Mr. Mayor, hell of a thing. Mayor Mondale, thoughts here, brother?
Listen, I think it's a dastardly task to be a Black man talking about what the Black family was in the 60s compared to what it is right now and how strong the Black family was in the 60s during Jim Crow era, even before the 60s, when you clearly don't know what the hell you're talking about. Am I going to be the ass that points out the elephant in the room? Is he even in a Black marriage? He got a white. This man is married to a white woman. I'm going to say it. This is not to say that Black and white people can't be married and love each other.
No, brother. That's what they would have said back then under the era that he likes.
That's exactly what they would have said. Not only would they have said it, they'd have put a picture of him in the paper on Saturday and said, we're going to hang him, bring your kids, right, and you can cut you a piece of this Negro off and take it home with as a souvenir. He needs to stop playing what realities are. Furthermore, the Black people that he was talking about was a smaller portion because of before millennials and the generation after millennials, the Zers, we were so small of a percentage of the population that, yeah, it was more Black people married, but we were only 8% of the population. Baby boomers were all white damn near.
Yep.
Now you have generation that are 40, 42, 44%, something other than white. There's more Black people on this planet than ever been. So to say that Black people have always been conservative is to take away what these kids are and what they say they are right now. You cannot define us by a generation where we were only 10% of the population, when now we are almost 30, 40% of the population if the Afro-Latinos identify as Afro-Latino and not white. So right. I am disgusted by people playing politics or playing these games, sitting there smoking his cigar and drinking his whiskey, pretending to be cool or in the in crowd with Black folk and this is step and fetch to the next level. If we got a problem with white candidates going to church, we should have a problem with Black candidates who are not associating themselves by their policies that they support, by the candidates they support, by the ideas that they push. Then we should have a problem with Black candidates showing up like this at our cigar lounges, especially in Philly. Somebody should have checked them, because it is absolutely disgusting to think about all of the people who were lynched, all of the Black men, Black people that were lynched during Jim Crow. To say that we were better off is absolutely stupid. Furthermore, it is to say that women don't have a right to choose that they don't want to be married. Because if you look at the number one reason Black women are not marrying now, it's because they don't want to. It's not because there's nobody for them to marry. These are women that are making a choice that, hey, I have a career that I want to chase after, and marriage is not high on my list.
And that is right.
Just as you said, Dr. Richard, Black men spend more time with their kids than any other men from the time they're born to the time they leave here. Yet and still, he chooses to push this narrative. And if it wasn't about us being better under Jim Crow, why mention that in your point? And furthermore, am I stupid or something? Who is HEW? I have no clue what you're talking about.
That was the former name of the office that currently deals in our social programs for the administration of welfare, et cetera. All right, okay. Briahna Joy Gray fired from the Hill, apparently because of an October 7th interview. We're going to break it down. Here it is.
I really do hope that Netanyahu agrees and Israel agrees to the ceasefire deal that could bring all the hostages, including your sister, home. And I'm sure many people watching are praying for her safety.
Thank you, me too. And I really hope that you specifically will believe women when they say that they got hurt.
All right, thanks for joining. Stick around, more Rising coming up next.
Okay, that's part of it. Now, prior to this clip, Gray had to correct the record multiple times during the interview. Now, I'm going to play this and then we'll get into the rest of it. Here it is.
I think the question is so many other hostage families who've been protesting Netanyahu seem to believe that what would help their family members come home sooner is if Netanyahu would agree to a ceasefire and a hostage release deal to really prioritize what you're saying. Prioritize getting your sister home where she can be safe and have the medical attention it seems that she very much needs.
You're very right, but sometimes throughout those deals, we saw that Hamas wasn't agreeing anything at all.
The Times just reported this morning that Biden said, quote, there's every reason for people to draw the conclusion that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is prolonging the war for his own political self-preservation. This is after Biden's speech at the end of last week was met with statements from Israeli government officials saying that there wasn't an agreement about this hostage deal on the part of Israel and that there was a gap between what Biden represented and what they would agree to. And after months of Netanyahu and members of his administration saying that the goal was to eliminate Hamas and that he would not agree to a ceasefire and hostage exchange deal, into that happened. Now this seems to be Joe Biden saying again that what is obstructing the ceasefire process that could allow your sister to come home and get the food and get the medicine and get the care that she needs and to live in safety is being obstructed by Benjamin Netanyahu. Do you feel like he's putting his own personal political goals ahead of prioritizing hostage release?
I really see that you want to talk political things, and this is not my profession. I'm saying right now that we have an Israeli deal on the table and we're waiting for Hamas to say yes.
Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case. I wish that it were.
She's citing proper sources from the White House. The contextualization is proper. The narrative is fitting. And she's being just as political as the guest. We're talking about policies, international policies that lead to a hostage being released. I don't see how one is political in nature and the guest is not. These are political dynamics. So there was pushback. Here it is.
What did my sister did wrong? Nothing. Nothing. We did nothing wrong.
Well,
this was happening inside our own country. Yeah. And if the world won't help us, we will see 9/11 the second time in the US as well. But we can already see in the United States, in Michigan, rallies that calling death to America, not condemning terror organizations in Israel or any other place, in fact, is reflecting to your country as well.
I'm just going to push back against the implication that in Michigan, which has the largest Muslim and Arab population in America, that there is any threat of terrorism from our own people. And I would like to clarify also that one of the rationale that was presented for 9/11 was discussed with America's support of Israel's continued occupation of Palestine.
Yeah, that part. Let's get into it. Put it up. So 2 days after that, she's fired. 2 days after the interview posted, Gray announced her termination from the Hill on X. Quote, it finally happened. The Hill has fired me. There should be no doubt that Rising the Hill, that's at Rising the Hill, has a clear pattern of suppressing speech, particularly when it's critical of the state of Israel. This is why they fired, she names another person. And it was only a matter of time before they fired me. You can continue to follow me at, and she put a Patreon page there. She also provided the notice of termination. And it says, in reference, Briahna Joy Gray, notice of contract termination. Dear Briahna Joy, this is 30 days written notice that your consulting services agreement is being terminated pursuant to the provisions of Section 5.3 for convenience. Thank you for your contributions, and we wish the best in your future endeavors. Sincerely yours, Next Star Media Incorporated. Can we count the ways here? The vast majority of Israeli citizens agree with her. This is the irony of it. They agree that Netanyahu is a corrupt individual, that he is utilizing this proxy in order to create his own political reality and military might, and to continue the assault on Palestinians by saying he is simply coming after Hamas. He has no choice but to do these things. And I'll remind you every time, if Hamas was hiding in Israel, do you think he would kill Israelis indiscriminately to get to Hamas? And the answer collectively is, of course, he would not. She also cited sourcing directly from the White House, and she corrected a record that was levied against Americans in Michigan, for those who are exercising their religious freedom. Former colleague Cristobal responded to the news. Cristobal said, quote, "Yet another person fired for daring to support Palestinian humanity. I have no doubt. Joy will continue to find great success outside of corporate media, but these attempts to silence pro-Palestine voices are meant to intimidate those who don't have breeze fortitude and ability to withstand the attacks." And I got to say this, I didn't even see it as that biased. I really didn't. It was humanitarian, absolutely, because you're dealing with significant warfare and carnage, death, murder. But I thought it was a balance to the rhetoric that was being spewed on the other side to make it seem as if Netanyahu just could not do much in order to make these things happen. There's more. We got another one. Mike Ferraro compared the number of leftist hosts Rising the Hill has fired to the number of right-wing hosts they've fired. That gives you a clue as to who's actually challenging power. Okay, let's go to it.
My name's Katie Halper. I'm the host of 2 YouTube shows and podcasts. One is called The Katie Halper Show. One is called Useful Idiots. And up until very recently, I was a weekly contributor to the show Rising, which is at The Hill. That relationship ended when I was censored and fired over a monologue I wrote about Rashida Tlaib and Israel being an apartheid state.
But it is. Like, do you know the definition of it? Why would you fire somebody for saying a fact? I don't think they hide that part, by the way. Okay, all right. So Gray would also post this. Let's put it up. This is the type of hate messages sent her way. Not going to platform these people except to point out that this is the tone of the average Zionist in my mention, blatant racism. Fundamentally, their approach in Gaza and is contingent on racial supremacy arguments, so it's not surprising. It says, just letting you know, if you and your family were all slaughtered, the people of Gaza would celebrate your death. Keep rolling eyes, N-word. You unemployed now. Remember this, Palestinians around and they're finding out. You did the same. You around and you found out. Ha ha ha. We've covered all instances of bigotry and racism. Remember last year? Last year we were on Indisputable together, defending our Jewish brothers and sisters against the accusations of Kanye, white supremacists on bridges, holding up signs. The students who are protesting pro-Palestinian student groups and pro-Jewish student groups are in agreement. The vast majority of Israeli citizens are adversarial to the way their government, especially Netanyahu, has led this murderous attack. What am I missing here? All right, Mr. Mayor, thoughts?
I'm confused at what this woman was fired for. I mean, this is journalism. You push back on the false narratives being spewed in your air, or you're not responsible. So is the rising at Hill, is their objective to become Fox News? You just come up here and say whatever you want to. We don't care about facts. We're not fact checking anybody. She literally said, the guest literally said, there's an Israeli deal on the table. It was not a deal. It was a non-starter. What they were asking for was complete obliteration. Like it was ridiculous. So I think the fact that we are obligated to say that if we push back on Netanyahu or Zionism, that we are anti-Semitic, and the tying of that is the most successful thing that these folk that see the world like Benjamin Netanyahu do, and some of the people in his cabinet, these war dogs who want to just kill everything in Palestine and Gaza and act as if we're supposed to deal with it. But I'm going to keep saying this until people wrap their head around it. America is infinite amount of times larger than Gaza and Palestine is. Infinite. And they have almost lost as many people as we did in Vietnam over the entire war in that little space. And that is not indiscriminate. That is not going after Hamas, because you are killing minimal people that are attached with Hamas. And the idea of what people are doing is in the comment that Bree posted, the negative, nasty comment that they said Palestinian effed around and found out. Palestinians did not. It was Hamas. The majority of Palestinians didn't even vote for the Hamas government. 23% of people voted for them to be in government. So this idea that you are at war with Palestine is the problem with the way that they're handling this war.
That's right. And it is an intentional conflation to make people believe that they are the same, and they are not. All right, we have an update. Remember the deputy who decided to shoot an airman in his apartment for doing absolutely nothing illegal, nothing wrong? Well, he says he did it because, well, he had an aggressive stare. Let's go to the video and provide the update.
Are they fighting or something?
He's saying that it happens frequently.
Okay.
But this time it sounded like it was getting out of hand.
Sheriff's office, open the door! Sheriff's office, open the door! Step out. Drop the gun! Drop the gun!
It's over there.
Drop the gun!
I don't have it.
312, shots fired. Suspect down. Do not move!
He wasn't a suspect. Put up the picture full man side by side. Airman Roger Forston was immediately shot by Okaloosa County Sheriff's Deputy Eddie Duran. This is in Florida. The Florida Sheriff's Deputy fatally shot the Air Force airman in his apartment doorway. Felt justified based on, quote, a stare, according to a newly released report on the Okaloosa Sheriff's Office. This is the office's internal investigation. Now keep that picture up. This is what he put in the official report. Mr. Forston did not have time to stare at anybody. A stare is not a glance. It takes time. Something you did not afford, Mr. Forston, but he did afford you time. The irony is both of you have the same mandate and training to never point your weapon until you detect a threat. He followed his training and kept his constitutionally protected weapon on his side because he never saw you as a threat. But he's at his own home and you immediately saw him as a threat and decided to put multiple bullets in his body. Duran told investigators the first thing he saw was the 23-year-old's eyes. That's what he said. What he perceived as an aggressive look prompted him to open fire within 2 or 3 seconds of Forston opening his door. Quote, "When I saw his eyes, I saw aggression," Duran said. According to sheriff's report, it was a stare that was fixated 100% on me. Not eyebrows raised, not, "Hey, what's going on? Why are you here?" It was a stare that showed me there was aggression. So the officer is saying he shot a black man dead for looking at him the wrong way. Do you understand? This is what the man has put in an official report. Because that Negro looked at me with such aggression, I had to put him down. You know, that actually used to be protected in this nation. If you looked at a white male the wrong way, if you looked at a white woman in particular at all, you could be put down that same day, no repercussion whatsoever. Body cam footage released earlier in May by the sheriff's office, however, appeared to show Duran firing at the senior airman with little warning and no provocation. He did die later at the hospital. The deputy was actually terminated. So finally, the sheriff gets around, terminates the deputy from the sheriff's department May 31st. But that's not enough, says Forston's grieving family members and friends who spoke out alongside their attorney, Benjamin Crump, in a recent news conference in Atlanta, where Forston grew up. Quote, "I put so many pictures of my baby on social media," his mother, Ms. Forston, said at the news conference, where she spoke glowingly of her son, who served in overseas combat zones and was stationed at nearby Hulbert Field. Quote, "He would never put aggression in his eyes if he wanted to. Roger was helping to raise a 16-year-old brother. That this was a good man. This tragic incident should have never occurred," stated Okaloosa County Sheriff Eric Aiden in a statement announcing his firing. Quote, "The objective facts do not support the use of deadly force as an appropriate response to Mr. Forston's actions. Mr. Forston did not commit any crime. By all accounts, he was an exceptional airman and individual." Keep up the sheriff's picture because he does not get a pass on this one. When this first happened, it was the sheriff who came out and said that the deputy was at the right apartment and that his deputy did not hide himself from the peephole. The reality is we still don't know if the deputy was at the right apartment. We assume the answer is no, he wasn't. And while he did not hide himself from the peephole with a hand, he did hide from the peephole by leaving the general area where he could be seen. And Mr. Forston would be alive today. He would be alive today if that deputy stood where he was supposed to. Why? Because Mr. Forston would have realized the person knocking on my door like this is law enforcement. There is no threat here. Obviously, there's a mistake somewhere. Let me open the door and talk to him. Let me put this gun away. Okay? Now, Sheriff, you have jurisdiction here. You fired him for engaging in excessive force that led to the death of another human being. According to the statute, that's manslaughter. At least it could be murder 3. Why did you not effect an arrest? You just fired him like he violated an office policy. This man violated a law. A whole man is dead. But you didn't have the strength, fortitude to do what you were supposed to do, which is effect the arrest. Shame on you, Sheriff. Shame on you. All right. So the sheriff is now coming out acting as if he was a good guy all along, still has not effected an arrest. When pressed about it, he says, well, there's a state investigation. Do not forget that state is ran by Governor Ron DeSantis. So good luck on that. All right, Mayor, thoughts here.
So another tragedy, another reason why Donaldson doesn't get to say the stupid stuff that he said about Jim Crow.
Right.
This is the legacy of Jim Crow. A black man looked a certain way and it can get him killed, even if he is serving as a active airman. This is absolutely disgusting. And to say that he didn't hide himself when he's standing to the left of the door, you absolutely are hiding yourself. Also, why is your gun drawn? What if that was a kid that opened that door and it was somebody's kid, 23 years old? It is absolutely disgusting that his life has been cut short and nobody is probably going to stand a trial or we're going to see justice for this at all.
Man, it's so unfortunate because good young man, was raising his 16-year-old brother because he just needed to step in and do what he needed to do. We spoke right here on Indisputable with a retired Baltimore police officer who's also a retired airman. And he told us so many nuances that should have happened that did not happen. The one thing that deputy was supposed to do was call into the precinct, call the operator and say, listen, I want you to tell me the last 30 days what has happened at this apartment. If that's the wrong apartment, they would have known immediately. There has been no 911 calls at that apartment, period. That would have taken seconds to do. And if he was afraid, as the reason he did not stand in front of the peephole, for some reason he was afraid, even though there's no evidence he should have been, he was supposed to call backup before he engaged, if he was afraid. All right, we'll keep you updated as updates come. We got more on the other side. It's Indisputable, stick and stay.
Now, I'm going to do something very different here and read some one-star reviews of the Young Turks on Apple Podcasts. Donnie Franchise said, pretty much it's like listening to a trash compactor. Someone else said, negative, anti-American propaganda. And others said, out of context, misquotes, typical leftists who are afraid to debate, just smear. These two would be perfect for CNN or MSLSD. Well, Donnie, you might have a point, because I feel like a trash compactor right now after taking in all those garbage reviews. But thanks for listening anyway. We are, in fact, unapologetically progressive. And if you're not ready for bold commentary, then we're not the show for you. On the Young Turks, we speak up about the issues that matter, and we want to make positive change happen. And now here's why we actually do the show. Mariel Morales said, found this podcast from the true crime podcast, Fruit Loops, and other great progressive podcasts. I've become an instant fan of the Young Turks. Great conversation, great takes, very well composed, factual podcast, very informative. Love to hear that. Z55 said, it's a joy to experience such awareness and intelligence from fascinating people. And Anna is gorgeous and brilliant. Apparently I'm just fascinating, but I'll take it. Paul for Progress said, news well delivered. Appreciate it. KOOK said, Democrats and Republicans are fair game for TYT. And if Anna or Cenk provide disinformation about anything, they will admit they made a mistake and correct it. We appreciate you noticing that we are honest. To people who actually listen to the substance of the show, thank you. Your listenership supports what we do. Leave a 5-star rating for the Young Turks on Apple Podcasts. Let's take the ratings back from the trolls. Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. Here at TYT, we understand this. That's why we're not gonna price gouge you or use inflation as an excuse to raise our prices. A TYT membership is not your typical subscription, but basic membership is still just $4.99. So what do you get for that price? For starters, you're getting exclusive programming, unique, exclusive designs from Shop TYT, access to a members-only chat, giveaways, emojis, and so many other amazing perks. But most importantly, you're helping to make an impact. As a TYT member, you not only help us do the shows every day, but you drive real positive change in the process. In 2017, we helped to start Justice Democrats right here on TYT. That's a group that got a dozen progressives elected into Congress. That's amazing, you did that. Your support also funds TYT's very own investigative reporting. Just recently, our reporters exposed the Fellowship Foundation and pressured lawmakers into boycotting that bigoted event. Isn't that amazing? We raised over $30,000 for Jackson, Mississippi and delivered clean water to thousands of people in need. Our petitions, polls, and community of activists help keep the corruption of Washington in check. That's the impact of what just $4.99 a month from our members can do. And we're just getting started. Positive change doesn't occur overnight, but with your contribution, we can make it happen together.
A new TYT app experience is now available. Check out brand new features like voting in polls and signing petitions. You can also follow your favorite TYT shows, join the live chat, engage in message boards, search for and follow topics you care about, and much more. Download the app by searching for TYT in the App Store or via Google Play.
All right, welcome back. I was good to be with you. We got a few comments, kind of pressed for time, so I will read as many as I can. Dragons don't know I'm not real big. It says, happy anniversary. Always glad to have you guys on as I work. You and your crew do excellent work and give me hope for the future. Amen to that. They give me hope too. All right, you all give me hope. Wolf Dragon Donna, happy 3rd anniversary. Thank you so much. Craig Cruz Souffle talking about the good congressman. Yeah, Dr. Richard, this guy's totally cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. That's right. He is. And Cena Hoggleboom, it is really sad that Americans don't know American history. You know what's even sadder? An American congressman not knowing American history. That's even worse on some level. Okay. And yep, definitely. This is, I think, RCNPS 2024. Please bring these women on the show. That's right. So we will reach out to them. So producers, you know what to do. Let's try to get them on the program ASAP. And yeah, all things basketball. Thank you for that, by the way. Congrats, Dr. Rich, on your 3rd year anniversary. Keep giving them hell for many more years to come. That's right, 100%. Thank you so much. As long as you all are with me, we're good. And Donald James X, poor Briahna. I mean, she gets shot from all sides. Yep. And Librio, member for 10 months. Thank you so much. I'm happy anniversary, Doc. 3 years of bringing hard truth to the forefront. It's no easy feat. Keep it up. We all love and appreciate your work. Thank you so much. And I love and appreciate your support. We're a team. Snacker_Panther gifted 5 indisputable memberships. So welcome. Make Me Laugh too. Welcome. I think this is Char Willie, Conversations with, Everlost, and Progressive Chihala, Jean Harawer. Also, Ken Lott K-Town gifted 5 indisputable memberships. Welcome Chris Miller, TBT, Egyptian Goddess 1111. I think this is Fiery Guamar Dragon. And Lady F&T gifted 10. Sean Simpson, welcome. Librio gifted another 5. Empress Amanda R, welcome. Gary Cooper, LaShondra Chanel, Ronika Hernandez, and Baspera. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate the support, all right? Okay, got something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Here's your food.
Put it up full mast. Sir, you could have just waited 30 seconds, got in your car, and said all the racist things you wanted to. But you just couldn't help yourself. At this point, especially if you are a food delivery driver, you have to assume that there's a camera, Ring video doorbell, something. at the front door. They're very inexpensive these days. You can get one for $19.99. And you utilizing the N-word after dropping off the food. Sir, if you feel that way, why bring it? Just say, hell, I left it. They didn't have the order. Something else happened. I don't feel like bringing it. Cancel the order. If you're that upset over delivering food to Black people, why deliver the food? And damn it, I wouldn't trust it. If I heard you say the N-word at my Ring video doorbell camera, and you dropping off food, the last thing I'm going to do is eat that food. This is becoming problematic. Mr. Mayor, we've reported on these instances multiple times where there's a delivery made and the racism starts. Now, before the food delivery thing, it was services, right? So person knock on the door, say, hey, I'm a salesperson trying to sell cable or whatever. There's a rejection or there's nobody answering, and then they start uttering these particular racial slurs. Well, that's problematic, yes, because they're selling a service, but this is even more problematic because they're delivering food. What's your thoughts?
This is why I go to restaurants or I cook myself. I'm afraid, man. Like, this is why I think Waffle House is the best restaurant in the world, man. I'm not trying to get free advertisement, but I get to see the cook crack my eggs, put tomatoes in them, and put it on the bread and bring it home. You ain't going to nobody's wall, behind nobody's wall, and I don't know what you got going on. This is absolutely ridiculous. The fact, I mean, not just the fact that he is this racist, but he, like you said, there's a Ring camera right there looking at you. You're so blatant with it that you just risk your whole life. Now you're out of your DoorDash job that you're not doing for fun. Nobody's doing DoorDash for fun. You need this gig job. There should be a platform from all of these DoorDash, Uber, all of them, where you're automatically blocked right now, this incident. And then on top of that, where's your where's your full-time job? If this ain't it, somebody's gonna get this to them. The internet does not miss. The internet does not miss. This person has just lost himself because he's upset that he had to deliver food to a Black person.
Yeah, and here's the thing, man. Like Ring video doorbells are not incognito. One of the reasons they are there is to show very clearly, we are recording you. So I don't buy, even if he said, well, I didn't know there was anything there. Come on, man. It's a Ring video doorbell. Okay, we have an update. Remember SoHo Karen? Okay. Hate crime charges now dismissed, all right? And I want to remind you of the incident, and I'm going to give you the updates and then the updates. Here it is.
Show me this is my phone. Show me, no.
You don't have to explain nothing to her.
Take the case off, that's mine. Literally, get it back, please.
Are you kidding me? You feel like there's only one iPhone made in the world?
No, okay, then show me the, show me all my.
You get a life.
Over there, what's on your background?
You better go use find my iPhone. Go do that.
Find my iPhone is on. On that right now.
No, you can't. No.
I'm the manager of the hotel.
I don't care.
He will
this
right
is my
now.
Son.
Hey,
did you see me just come downstairs out of the elevator?
I'm trying to help. Man.
No, but you're not helping.
I am.
What you've been is disrespectful.
No, I'm trying to settle this situation.
My son has nothing to do with her.
No. I'm trying to figure out what's going on in the lobby. Then show me the proof. No, he's not leaving. Show me the proof.
Are you kidding me? You better get on.
I need you away.
Let's go, kid.
I'm sorry.
Better get on. We have what you see two Black people.
No, I'm not letting him walk away with my phone.
Wait. Better get on somewhere.
No, please get my phone back. I cannot not have my phone.
Listen,
Well, her charges have been wiped clean. We saw aggression, unwanted physical contact, impeding a person's mobility. Let us not forget the contextualization. This is a kid, okay? Want you to imagine a Black male doing this to a white kid. Do you think all the charges get wiped away, that nothing happens? Well, here we go. Put up full mask. SoHo Karen Ponsetto is her name. She wrongly accused a Black 14-year-old child named Keon Harold Jr. of stealing her cell phone at an Arlo SoHo hotel in New York City. She has now had her hate crime charges completely erased. She originally pleaded guilty to felony unlawful imprisonment as a hate crime for the December 26, 2020 altercation. The Harrell family also sued Ponsetto, but that case remains pending at this time. Renowned jazz musician Keyon Harrell recorded the incident when Ponsetto falsely accused his son of stealing her iPhone to a hotel manager. The father and son, who were guests at the hotel, rejected her accusations and tried to remove themselves from the situation. But the video shows Miss Ponsetto following, grabbing, and then tackling the 14-year-old child to the ground. Miss Ponsetto later found her phone in the Uber she had taken earlier that day. Keep their pictures up for a second, because another irony was how quickly the manager decided to become an investigator against his own guest. Well, let me see the phone then. For what? What are you talking about? Let you see the phone. Hell is you? What do you mean? I'm a guest here. This is a child. This is my son. The plea deal she struck with the Manhattan prosecutors in April 2022 dictated that as long as the 26-year-old stayed out of trouble with the law and completed 2 years of counseling, she could get the hate crime wiped from her record. She met the terms of that deal this year, entered a new plea to a misdemeanor second-degree aggravated harassment in the case. If she had not held up her end of the agreement, she could have potentially faced prison time. Ponsetto's attorney, Paul D'Emilia, said per the New York Post, quote, "In spite of my opinion that this matter was deliberately mischaracterized, mislabeled, I'm relieved that our firm successfully convinced the New York County DA to forego any lasting damage to Miss Ponsetto. She was unfairly put through a public ringer stemming from this mishap." Spoken like a true lawyer. I don't know what else to say. Mishap, sir. She wasn't put through a mishap. She put other folk through a mishap. And because of that, she experienced what was to come. But she started this. They did not. In a 2021 interview, if you recall, Gayle King had her on the show, CBS Mornings. Miss Ponsetto actually apologized to the Harrell family, stating she could have approached the situation differently, but was also keenly working to defend her actions. Here it is.
Mia, help me understand. What made you think that Keyon had your phone? That's why I'm confused. Why did you think he had it?
I was approaching the people that had been exiting the hotel, because in my mind, anybody exiting is probably the one that might be the one that is trying to steal my phone. I admit, yes, I could have approached the situation differently.
Are you saying that you were stopping everybody in the lobby, asking them about your phone? Is that what you're saying?
Not everyone, just the people that in the meantime, while the hotel manager was checking the footage, I just wanted to do my part as best as I could.
I know you said you could have handled it better, but I just don't think I would randomly attack people in the manner in which you did. I know you're saying I don't need to, I just want to apologize, but I do think that there should be some context to your actions that day.
Okay, so basically, I'm a 22-year-old girl. Racism how is one girl accusing a guy about a phone a crime? Where is the context in that?
Mia,
what is the deeper
Mia,
story here?
That's not the problem. You have to at least understand your actions that day. You're saying, look, I'm 22 years old. You're 22 years old, but you are old enough to know better. So I will say you're 22. I get it.
Enough. The hotel did have my phone. The hotel did end up having my phone. I did get my belongings returned to me.
Gayle, enough, okay? My Karenicity runs too damn deep for this interview. She couldn't take it. She says, I'm a 22-year-old girl who accused the guy. No, you accused a child. You're not a 22-year-old girl. You are a 22-year-old adult. You see the misequivocation there. She's the child. She's the innocent one. She is the person that should not know better. But she just accused the guy. He was just 13 a few months ago now. This is a baby. No more felony record. And let me say this. The reality is she got off easy because there's nobody else who could have attacked a 14-year-old child and did not get a felony that sticks. That felony should have stayed there. The only thing that should have had some element of grace perhaps was the amount of prison time. But she attacked a 14-year-old child in public. How does that get you a felony release from your record? All right, Mr. Mayor, thoughts here.
Man, my thoughts are, you want to talk about the two sides of the justice system. Where's the DAs that create new charges? Resisting arrest and charges on charges on charges. They stop somebody for one charge. How is the only charge she was facing was the hate crime? Where's the assault? Where's the endangering a minor? Where's the kidnap charge? When you prevent people from leaving a space and you're not a police officer, that's kidnap. Where are all these charges? How is she getting to walk away from free? Where's the justice for this kid who suffered through this? It is absolutely ridiculous. And people will say, well, the lawsuit is still pending. The lawsuit is not criminal, does not make up for a crime. It makes up for other crimes. And I think this is what we mean about America's tolerance for Black suffering and how high it is. This woman gets to go on national TV, show no remorse, and still get off with a smack on the wrist.
Yep, that's right. So we shall bring updates. Hopefully that lawsuit includes a hotel. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
Magic. It's showtime. And say 45 minutes. I'm hosting today. Now I know what you're thinking, Jerry, your face is already perfect, but you know what? I still need to apply some makeup. I went through this process, right? A few years ago when I realized that I was gonna have to wear makeup on the show. I had to go through like finding out what my undertones were. You guys know what those are? I got my MAC Cosmetics. It says SPF 15 foundation, broad spectrum. But apparently what I have is red undertones, and I think pores are not supposed to be seen. I need all these things to be confirmed for me. These sponge things don't work for me. You gotta use your hands. At least I do. That's how the magic really happens. So we're gonna go through a tutorial how to make the magic happen from beautiful to beautifuler. Let's go. I've already been moisturized. That's the first thing. But moisturization already happened. We go raw. All hands. Pick up a couple streaks. This is the guy way of putting on makeup. Look at that, dots. There's some shiny points that generally happen. First of all, here we go. You dust here. I'm putting way too much, but you dust. Oh, get the excess off. You don't want chunky powder. There's like a T-zone, I think, right? Mine is a double T-zone. Because I went middle and another cross. Make sure your nose isn't all shiny. People get on you for it. They'll say, that's not a good point you made on there, JR. Your nose is shiny. You guys are picky like that sometimes. I think that's about it, fellas and ladies. See you guys next time. Bitsies.
All right, welcome back. Police, they go inside of a home without a warrant. Completely inappropriate and aggressive to everybody. Here it is.
Get outside now. Nope. You got a warrant, you come on in. You got a warrant. You better have a warrant. Turn that record on. You better have a warrant. You better have a goddamn warrant. You just broke my door You better have a warrant. You better have a warrant, Scudo. No, I'm not coming outside.
Yes.
Am I under arrest?
Come outside.
Am I under arrest?
You're going to be if you don't come outside.
Am I under arrest?
We haven't done nothing.
Okay, so we have a video of somebody being beat inside of this house.
Ain't no in here, man.
Okay, so step outside.
No,
We're gonna settle this.
you have a warrant for me or anybody in this house. No. Do you have a warrant? Don't touch her. Don't put your hands on her. Don't put your hands on her. You are out of law, man. You are breaking the law. I don't give a about no gun, man. You don't give a I ain't got nothing. No, I'm not coming out because I feel my life is in danger. I feel my life is in danger. Ain't nobody in this house but me and my kid and my girlfriend. And you just tore up my door for nothing. I want to see your sergeant. I want to see your shift commander. You people are wrong, man. I have not done nothing to nobody.
Stand up. Stand up.
Don't touch me.
Stand up.
Touch me, man.
Back up.
I haven't broken no law.
Bring him to me.
This is my son.
Stand
up. This is my son. Don't touch my son.
Stand up.
Don't touch my son.
Stop resisting.
Don't touch my son. Don't you mean stop resisting? You are attacking my camera.
The picture. Obviously, this family was traumatized. They broke the door and then tell him to come outside. He says, well, hell, am I under arrest? Well, you will be. Wait a minute, you just broke a man's door, but you don't have an arrest warrant. Yeah, I would be in fear of my life too. Y'all have no warrant. You just broke the door and you're telling me to come outside, but you can't even arrest me inside of my home because you don't have a warrant. So you just broke my door illegally. Of course, somebody would be suspicious of your motives. So let me give you the background. Indiana police stormed into a home without a warrant late last month after breaking the door open and decided to arrest the father and the son, claiming they had, quote, compelling evidence of domestic violence taking place inside of the Lafayette home. However, the compelling evidence, number one, was a 7-year-old video. Number two, from another home in another town, showing two people who were not even at the house that Lafayette police had entered without a warrant, according to the 52-year-old father, William Neal. The incident took place on May 21st, resulting in Neal and his 18-year-old son being arrested on charges of, here we go, resisting the police, which is a misdemeanor punishable by a year in jail. But the police are the but-for factor. The police committed more crimes than anyone else that night, but they go to jail for resisting going to jail when they weren't supposed to be going to jail. There's more. The only resistance seen from the two videos recorded from inside the house are the men refusing to step outside after the cops busted the door open. Hell, the cops didn't seem sure if they were able to arrest him or not. You better have a warrant, Neal says in the video recorded by his son, showing the cops standing outside the open door with guns and tasers drawn. You just broke my effing door. We have a video of someone being beaten inside this house. One of the cops tells him as he remains standing outside the doorway. At one point in the video, the cops grab Neal's girlfriend by the wrist, Miss Tammy Cooper, pulling her outside the home. Quote, come outside or you're going to jail. One of the cops tells Neal. Quote, I actually want their jobs, Neal told the Journal-Courier, the Lafayette Daily newspaper. They need better officers out here. I pay taxes. There's no way I should be paying my taxes to people like that's being tyrants and bullies. Police told Neal they were responding to a 911 call, but when questioned by local media, they confirmed the call did not come from the home they had entered. Quote, due to the nature of the call and need to ensure the safety of all individuals involved, officers made entry into the residence. That's what the police sergeant, Sean Burma, told the Journal-Courier. Subsequently, 2 adult males were arrested for resisting law enforcement. It is not clear at this time who made the call, but Neal told WLFI-TV that the video in question involved his other son, Michael, and his girlfriend, Leslie, and had been recorded in another town 7 years prior. Statute of limitation completely over with. Officers had received compelling evidence suggesting domestic battery and confinement had occurred with persons at the address, which it wasn't. Lafayette Police Chief Scott Galloway said, but Neil is angry over how they handled the situation. Quote, I can understand how you're trying to do your job, but there's a right way and a wrong way, he told the Journal and Courier. And everything they did, man, was the wrong way. That's right, it's called an investigation. That's the right way. You ask a few questions, you get an inquiry. Say, hey, listen, let's verify some of this information. What time frame did it happen in? Who are the people? Can we make a positive idea or not? Obviously, they did not do any of those things. And this family had to endure that trauma and then go to jail for not wanting to go to jail when they legally were never supposed to be going to jail. Mr. Mayor, thoughts?
I think it should be illegal to charge someone with resisting arrest and nothing else. What is a resisting arrest charge with no other charges? I hate that. That is a catch-all. That is a way. I got so many resisting arrest charges on my record. It's unbelievable.
Right. You do, bro.
Absolutely ridiculous. Because it's I don't get it. And furthermore, this video is disgusting.
Yeah.
If this is disgusting, the cops and everybody should be, every cop in town should be angry if they were good cops. This is how people die for nothing.
Absolutely nothing. And with their guns drawn, if he would have had a quick movement, they shot him. They could have said, "Oh, I was fear of my life." And according to the Supreme Court, they would have gotten off on it. They get to go home, no problem. Mr. Mayor, always a pleasure, dear brother, having you on the show to break down these very important stories. Tell people how they can follow you, check out your great work. And I also want to say this, man, I'm thankful for your leadership, not only in your city, they're very lucky to have you in Enfield, this country, and at Indisputable. You are part of the program. You're one of our partners, dear brother, and I thank you for being part of the family.
Man, thank you so much. Listen, 3 years of this has been glorious. Not just being on this show, just watching this show, understanding there is still people who care about truth and understand that truth is indisputable. So thank you and the team. And people can find me at Rebel HQ, bro.
Thank you, brother, for always doing the right thing. All right, we got the bullpen next. Stick and stay.
Magic. It's showtime. And say 45 minutes. I'm hosting today. Now I know what you're thinking, JR, your face is already perfect, but you know what? I still need to apply some makeup. I went through this process, right? A few years ago when I realized that I was gonna have to wear makeup on the show. I had to go through like finding out what my undertones were. You guys know what those are? I got my MAC Cosmetics. It says SPF 15 foundation, broad spectrum. But apparently what I have is red undertones, and I think pores are not supposed to be seen. I need all these things to be confirmed for me. These sponge things don't work for me. You gotta use your hands. At least I do. That's how the magic really happens. So we're gonna go through a tutorial, how to make the magic happen from beautiful to beautifuler. Let's go. I've already been moisturized, that's the first thing. But moisturization already happened. We go raw. All hands. Pick up a couple streaks. This is the guy we're putting on makeup. We got dots. There's some shiny points that generally happen. First of all, here we go. You dust here. I'm putting way too much, but you dust. Oh, get the excess off. You don't want chunky powder. There's like a T-zone, I think, right? Mine is a double T-zone. Because I went middle and another cross. Make sure your nose isn't all shiny. People get on you for it. They'll say, that's not a good point you made on there, JR. Your nose is shiny. You guys are picky like that sometimes. I think that's about it, fellas and ladies. See you guys next time. Bitsies.
All right, let's get it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bullpen. All right, it is the 3rd anniversary of Indisputable, and so production said, let's do something nice. Let's bring on your friend, conservative Republican talk show host of WSB, the Shelley Wynter Show. Let's bring on Shelley Wynter. Let's just talk about your friendship. I said, producers, I thought y'all wanted to do something nice. Shelley Wynter, ladies and gentlemen. All right. How you doing, brother?
I'm wonderful, sir. Happy anniversary. 3 years is a long time, and that's a good run. You're having a good run, and I'm very proud of you, brother.
Thank you, dear brother. Very proud of you as well. I'm not proud of your talking points, but I'm proud of you as a human being. The Jesus in me, brother, still loves the Jesus in you. Let's just put it that way.
All right.
Let me ask you, man, because when my producer
the Allah in me loves the Allah in you.
Amen. All of it works. When my producer said, well, let's talk about y'all friendship. How in the world did y'all become friends when you all politically disagree on everything? And man, I had to really think about it because it's kind of organic how it happened. I couldn't really pinpoint like when we became friends. I remember meeting you at a campaign event years ago. And I think at this time I was the director and chief strategist for the state Democratic Party at that time. So we were both involved in electioneering, politics, campaign strategy, et cetera. Who were you working for at that time, Shelley? Do you remember?
I believe I had been fired by 1380 at that time. So
yes, I don't know if you wanted to bring that up, but
of course, correct.
Yeah. And after they fired you,
it's public record. Yeah, it's public record.
They sure did. Now we're #1 show. So
but I'm on a bigger station.
you actually are on a bigger station, but I'm still #1. All right, so the dynamics of politics, like you were always a conservative. So I need people to understand the context. Even though you were on a black radio station, you were a conservative. You had conservative policies and conservative ideology. And you did well, dear brother. You obviously argued with some people, but hell, I argue with people. I argue with conservatives often. You argue with those that were a little more left-leaning to your policies, but it made for good radio. Explain the friction, the requirement of friction, and how that friction to you, in your opinion, created some of the legacy that you have now in the conservative realm.
I think, I was on CNN years ago. Let me start here. As a conservative on that station, I was actually one of the first people in 2007 when I was on the air that said Barack Obama was going to be the next president. And a lot of the friction I got, interestingly enough, was from the African-American listeners of that station who said I was setting black people up so America would never elect a black man. And so interestingly enough, the friction that I first started getting was because I liked Obama and I supported Obama on a black station. And it wasn't that they didn't like Obama, it's just that no one believed that back then that he could possibly win.
And I want to provide a little more context because during that time, this was before I was in radio myself, but I remember just politics-wise, all of the civil rights leaders seemingly supported Clinton. And then
with the exception of Reverend Lowry.
With the exception of Dr. Joseph Lowry, that is correct. And so there was this sentiment that propping up Obama, Senator Obama at that time, whom I worked for, was going to somehow discredit the overall seriousness of the Democratic nominee, who would eventually be Hillary Clinton anyway. So they just made these assumptions about President Obama. So I just want to make sure people understood that context.
Absolutely.
That you were sharing.
And what's interesting, just to go a step further, it also tells us that sometimes our leadership can be wrong. And that the people have an opportunity to voice their opinions, which they did in that election. But I was on a radio and got let go from that station. Interestingly enough, because of the civil rights leaders in Atlanta. But neither here nor there. And also, myself, my personality and everything like that. But the way we became friends was when you got on to 1380. You invited me on the show a few times when you were on there, and I always appreciated that. And then I met your family. We had many of the same friends in the city of Atlanta. And even though we disagreed politically, we had the same goals and aspirations for our people, which was just simply getting the things and the policies that we knew needed to help us move forward as a culture.
Yeah, I agree. And many times our politics, the difference or differences in our politics, it was kind of the traditional dynamics where we disagreed on methodology while agreeing on eventual outcome. Now, some of that is very different now in the political conversation, but you and I always kept that focus. And we share common friends, like Killer Mike is a friend of mine and a friend of yours. We also shared common ideology as it relates to transparency. So when there are local elections, you helped organize local elections for me to come and moderate those local elections, because you knew if I'm there as a moderator, you're going to have a transparent and vigorous debate of issues, right? So we combined there, and then we combined obviously on our youth advocacy for Atlanta youth and mentorship. So those are the things that define us inside of politics and inside of character as well.
Absolutely, and I think that's the most important thing. I think what people have to recognize is I tell people all the time jokingly, but kind of just to make a point, is that I'm a Giant fan in football, the team I love, the New York Giants. I hate Dallas fans. But at the end of the day, I can't hate you because you're a Democrat. I mean, that's ridiculous. And I just think that we need to get away from that, because the people at the top, they actually want us to be that way. Because if we can work together, you and I, we can get things done for the community that we can't get done if we're busy fighting each other.
Very well said. I want to bring up something that happened.
I don't really hate Dallas Cowboy fans. I just don't like them.
We understand that. So I want to bring up something that happened one day, man. And like people really thought I was going to be like hyper upset. And you and I actually talked after the show. You called my program one day, and you had said something on social media. I remember now. I did a gang peace treaty. That's what I did. And I brought together rival gangs in Atlanta. We were having a lot of gang conflict, a lot of shootings, and a child had been shot and killed in one of these shootouts some months prior at Dunbar Park. And so I got with Rick Ross and a few others locally, and I organized a rally where we literally sat down with them. It was packed, and signed a peace treaty so that this wouldn't happen again. Now, out of that, we had elected officials from the city of Atlanta, Felicia Morcane. We had Chief Judge Kirk and a few others, people that would not normally be in these spaces, were in these spaces, right? And so we posted some of this on social media. We could not get the press to cover it, but if somebody would have shot somebody, press would have been all over it. Put it on social media. You made a comment that was like one of those backhanded compliments, I thought. You made a comment that said something like, good job, but it'll be better if we didn't have gangs at all, right?
Right.
Okay, and so I decided to take up my airtime that morning on the show, and I talked-ish about you for about 2 hours. Right. And then you finally called the program, and you voiced your position, and we were going back and forth, and you then got really upset, dropped the F-bomb, and hung up, and that's when the friendship was solidified.
Absolutely. No, I remember that, and sometimes it's interesting, Rashad. Sometimes social media and sometimes I type things sometime and erase them, because sometimes social media is kind of like you jumping out there and saying something just top of mind, you know what I mean? And you wouldn't do that, because usually when you see or read something, you're in the privacy of your own home or on your phone. You might think something, but you won't share it because there's no one to share it to necessarily. And what social media has allowed you to do is share these things that pop up into your head in real time. And I think that was one of those times where it didn't really necessitate any kind of comment. Is, hey, can we do another one? Can we keep doing this? Can we keep running? Can we keep doing this? Can we keep on doing this? And so I think that was one of those times.
Yeah, and I got to say this, man. Some of your redeeming moments publicly to those who are just very, very hardcore against your ideology, like myself, is when you're able to make points that your typical conservative radio host would never try to make. And you have done things where you brought Senator John Ossoff, who's a dear friend of mine. He comes on my show once a month. He comes on my radio show once a month. He was my friend before he even thought about running for the U.S. Senate. But he comes on your program. You give him a fair opportunity, and you also provided some significant support in one of his campaigns because of principle. It was a principle for you. And those are nuances, dear brother, that we don't see much in conservative landscapes anymore. I think the only other person that I would say does that is Armstrong Williams. The only other person I know who does that. So I'm going to pose this challenging question to you as we part. It seems as if people inside of our political reality are less and less nuanced and more polarized. So moves like that are becoming more rare by the moment. What say you?
I think you're right. I get attacked by Democrats who disagree with me vehemently. I'm now being attacked by what so-called or self-described patriots, which I have no idea what that means because I think we all love our country in some way, shape, or form. And then sometimes I say things where the establishment, quote unquote, may disagree with me. Yep. I see it. A friend of mine said to me, if you're being fired upon by all sides, then you're over the target. And so that's the way I see it. But I think really as the goal should be, if we're given this blessing, if we're blessed to be given this opportunity to share our opinions to people on a large scale, I believe the responsibility is to try our best to bring people together. We're not going to agree on everything, but we don't have to dislike each other, call each other names. When I liked Barack Obama and the entire that audience 1380 did not agree with me, I knew why they didn't. Reverend Lowry once told me, we can disagree, but we don't have to be disagreeable. And that's, I think, really our goal and our responsibility as media people. And my feeling is if people want partisan divide, I can't do that. I have to just share my opinion. Sometimes you're going to agree, sometimes you're going to disagree. Yesterday was D-Day. All of media celebrated D-Day. I celebrated the 320th barrage balloon regiment that stormed D-Day as African Americans. I didn't do that because necessarily I was trying to be Mr. Pro-Black or anything else. I did that because I know my audience had never heard of this regiment that was all African American that stormed D-Day on June 6th. And I did it as an educational manner and to teach people, because I didn't know that this regiment existed, and I'm fairly well read. And so that's why I did it. And I think that's what our responsibility is, to bring people together, let people on both sides know that there are things happening that they can get involved with, or things happening that they may not have known, at historical things that they may not have known about.
There you go, man. The push and pull of having nuanced individual experiences, exposure, and environments. We all come together collectively to share. We don't have to always agree, but we should always be open and tolerable to respect the person next to us. Dear brother, I appreciate all that you do. We'll debate and get mad at each other next time, man. This is the 30th anniversary. Thank you for being part of the tapestry of
that's congratulations again. And you, I hope we don't ever get into a fist fight, because that ring you got on will knock my tooth out.
Yeah,
that is a huge ring you rocking it, brother.
It is, but I don't need the ring to do that, brother.
And you keep waving it.
Yeah, I don't need the ring to do that to you, bro. Thank you, man. I appreciate you being on the show.
Love you, brother.
Love you too, back. All right. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.